Hey everyone, greetings. Hope everyone is coping well. Uh, the situation is sadly, a lot of people got sick, a lot of people were nifter, Shem Yirachem, and we have to do what we can to stay safe. Um, so I had some thoughts I wanted to share with you that are very timely. We know, everything's b'hashgacha pratis. Not just what happens, but at the time that it happens. And there's always something to look out for, to correlate, especially a big event like Pesach. If what we're going through right now passes through that, then we have to see, try to see what the lesson is. So we have three major events coming up. As it stands out, I'm not planning to go live right now, not tomorrow and not the day after, but I will make available by links, shiurim I've given in the past that are apropos for Pesach, particularly the custom to learn the secret letter of Rishon Mastropalia. You can see that on my website. So just ideas for the three upcoming major events. Right, there's Bedikas Comets tomorrow night. There's Biur Hummus the next day. And then there's the HaSeder night, although there was plenty on the reader, which I sent out links for, about Leil HaSeder. I have something else I just want to add that's particularly apropos for our situation. Then there's something else, the Omer. Next time we see each other, as the way I'm planning now, I'm not going to go online with any new shurim until Chol HaMoed, as it stands now. That could always change. I would surprise you with something. That's why you should subscribe to the channel, and that way you'll always be notified if I ever run something new. But what we're going to do, what we're going to have, already on the second day of Pesach is Sfiras Omer, which I have not discussed in the reader that I put out, but I want to give you some ideas about Sfiras Omer because it's part of Pesach also. Interestingly enough, it's part of only 6 out of the 7 days of Pesach. Biblically, we only have 7 days of Pesach. It's only part of 6 out of 7. The first night is not part of the Omer. It starts from Mimocharas HaShabbos, the day after. And I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain that particularly in light of our current situation. Because this is what Rebbe wants. He wants us to not just learn from what happens, but also when it happens. And so I want to go step by step. Bedikas Comets, Biur Chometz, Leil HaSeder, Sfiras Omer. These three things are going to happen back to back over the next few nights. So let's go start with Bedikas Chometz, something that's written in all the Sfarim. And it's just so apropos, to discuss this thing that's written in all the Sfarim, but it's not a theoretical this year. It's real life, right? That which the Sfarim tell us that Bedikas Chometz, that Chazal legislated that you have to do no matter what. No matter, your house could be sparkling, clean, right? You still have to check. You still have to check your house. Right? It makes no difference how well you cleaned. Chazal legislated you must unconditionally check. Right? So, what's that about? So of course, the simple, halachic explanation, explain things just from a halachic point of view, because you never know. You can't be too sure. You cannot be too sure that you didn't, miss some Comets. I'm going to tell you an interesting story, vintage story. This story should be printed somewhere. So when I was first a Rebbe at Eish HaTorah, I had moved to Israel from Ner Yisrael, Baltimore. I was still single. I went because my Rebbe Moshe Shapira invited me to come learn by him. And you know, so I got to Israel, and an older bacher, well, I needed a place to hang, because I would learn with my Rebbe just once a week in the Friday afternoon chabura. So I needed a place to, live and learn. And I felt I was ready to teach. And I managed, with the whole story of Hashgacha Pratis that I do not want to get into right now. I landed a job as a Maggid Shir Torah, and that's where I met my wife subsequently. But this story goes before I met my wife. Um, so I was an interesting situation. I was living in the dorm with my own talmidim. Some of them were older than me, and came Pesach time. It was hands-on training, cleaning for Pesach, and you know. I don't have to tell anybody out there. You could imagine yourselves, especially as what's considered to be very traumatic about this Pesach is that some people have never made Pesach in their lives, and now are forced to make Pesach because all the hotels are closed. But even the people who are not accustomed to making Pesach know how hard people who do make Pesach do work. They work to the bone, scraping, scrubbing, ushering. Like any good Jewish home. But of course, these guys who I was teaching were Balei Tshuva that never seen a real Pesach. And I have to admit, I got a little bit of a sadistic pleasure out of it, working them hard, cleaning, halachic style. And they were exhausted. They never worked so hard in their lives cleaning our dorm that we shared for Pesach. So, and I explained to them, with learning hands-on, why certain things have to just be cleaned very thoroughly and bleached. I explained about Chometz and Mashu. I explained that if you're going to prepare hot food on something, you have to kasher because the heat will pull up Chometz taste. You know, and some of the guys who were really fresh, really green, found a lot of these things unrelatable, especially as it was such a pain to be slaving away, scrubbing, pouring hot water from morning till night for like 3 days straight. Truth be told, that dorm was really disgustingly dirty. Anyway, so here's the thing. After we finish on the third day of intensive cleaning, so I told the guys, okay, guys, now we're going to do Bedikas Hummus. We're going to search for Hummus. Right? And they said, Rabbi, there's no Hummus here. No Hummus. We've been slaving away for 3 days, scrubbing. Why do we have to search for Hummus? That's what we cleaned up. I said, no, the rabbis instituted that you have to do Bedikas Chometz. We have to listen to Chazal. And they said that, just in case we missed the spot, we have to search. Rabbi, there's no Hummus here. No Hummus. I said, we're going to do it anyway. So one guy got really ticked off and said, he's not doing this. No way. Enough is enough. Right? So he just locked himself in his room, and the other people were a little bit more compliant, whether although rather resentfully so. Me and them started, searching for the Hummus. So now this guy, we didn't want to have any part of it. He just thought it's just enough is enough, right? So he fiddled with an old radio that he found, right? That he plugged into the wall, and it shorted out the apartment. All the when you heard a big pop in the fuse box, and the apartment went, absolutely dark. Even though we had our candles, but you do want to have lights on, in the bathroom or whatnot. All right. So I can't remember whether it was this guy himself or someone else. Now go to the fuse box and then flip the fuses back on. Opened the fuse box, found a bag full of cookies. No idea what's there. And after that guy believed in God. Today he's a Rosh Kolel in Ra'anana. All right. So it just goes to show you trust Chazal, So even the halachic reason is truly reason enough. They knew exactly what they were talking about. Yeah. And it's just an amazing story because it's when we listen to Chazal, we're zochet the siyata d'shmaya, because as I explained years later to this guy, same guy. By the time I explained it to him, he had learned so much Torah, like I say, became Rosh Kol, and he didn't really have to explain it to him. He said, right, Minadin, we weren't chayiv to check in the fuse, right? Because you only are chayiv to check mokum shemachlitzim bo Comets, a place where you actually do put Comets. But when you listen to Chazal, right, and you do Bedikas Chometz anyway, Chazal opened up passageways for us. The things that they instituted for us, are zochet to siyata d'shmaya, that because we were engaged in Bedikas Chometz, so this thing happened, and we found that extra bag of cookies. So, this should be a real lesson in Munas Chachomim. And like I said, that guy, after that, did he believe in God? Believed in God, believed in the authority and the Ruach HaKodesh of Chazal. And like I said, he's a Rosh Kol and Ra'anana. Anyway, we should print that story. Anyone who logged on late, this is stored at this link, and this is a great story. But anyways, but Alpi Machshava, Musar, all the Sfarim agree that the Comets represents the Eight Sahara. And therefore, Bedikas Comets means Cheshbon HaNefesh, right? That as you are searching throughout your house for in every nook and cranny for Chometz, you're supposed to be parallel to that, be searching inside your inner house. Open up every nook and cranny of your mind and heart. See if there's any Chometz, if there's any Yetzer Hara there. And this fits so well with what we said in the name of the altar of Navardik. And the last time we went online, right before Shabbos Haggadah, like the famous marshal of the altar of Navardik, that about Cheshbon HaNefesh is like the guy who leads the cop, to check if he doesn't have an illegal meth lab, takes the cop through all the trap doors and the attics and all the stuff, impresses the cop that he has a real loyal citizen here, because the citizen took him for the inspection of his own home through such non-obvious places the cop would have never found himself, certainly not so quickly. But the one closet that the owner of the house didn't open up is where he actually kept his meth lab. And the Alter of Navardik says we play the same game with ourselves, right? We do a cheshbon nefesh, and we do soul searching, but we do intense soul searching where in the chambers of the heart that we're not afraid to open, where the skeletons really are. We don't open those. Those chambers remain sealed, but we, as it were, rationalized because we looked so hard where we weren't afraid to look. I did cheshbon nefesh. And so that's what Bedikas Chometz represents. You got to look at every place Shemachlitzin bo Comets, any type of place where Comets might be. So Bedikas Chometz represents Cheshbon HaNefesh, and like we said last time, we have to do Cheshbon HaNefesh if there's a Rachmana Litzlan Magefa going around like this. So that's what Bedikas Chometz is so apropos. So the Sfarim say just like Bedikas Chometz represents Cheshbon HaNefesh, checking, just like you're checking your house, you're checking yourself. Parallel to that, every nook and cranny. The halacha is bodek ad heichon shiado madas v'ashar mevatl b'libo. Hashem says you check as far as your hand reaches. Like, listen, there might be problems that are too big for you to handle. There might be things that you need to fix. They're out of your reach, so it's you're not ready to fix it. So bodek ad heichon shiado madas, just like you check if you have to check in a wall, because you have a hollow wall. You think that your kids or rats drag Comets there. You check as far as your hand can reach, and the rest you're mevatel. You leave it up to Hashem to fix. That's all Hashem wants. Do a real bedika. Feel yourself out as best as you can, and the rest you could just say, whatever's wrong with me that's beyond what I'm within my grasp to fix, right? Hashem, you fix, right? and that's legit if you really did as much as you can. And so that's why the Bedikas Chometz is so apropos for our situation. Okay, but then after that, there's Biur Chometz the next day. All right, so we do Bedika to check, and then we do Biur. Right, and now the Bedika is really a rabbinic must do in preparation for Biur. Right, that's why we make the bracha al Biur Chametz. It's a prep, for the purpose of getting rid of Chametz. So first, Chazal legislated check, and checking is obligatory. And that's the halacha, by the way. Even if there's you didn't put out any bread, you still make the bracha anyway, because the bracha is on the mitzvah is the search. Search is the mitzvah. It's not on the finding. Right? But the search is a function of biur, right? To seek out and destroy. Right? And of course, so the biur chametz. All right, and we don't wait till the actual burning the next day. And this year there won't be burning, as I understand. That's why it's very important to talk about what the message is, because we're not allowed the regular communal burning of chametz. And I want to address that issue and what it means. What it means when we do have the communal burning. Well, not that's communal, not that's communal mitzvah, but that's just the custom that we all get together by a central fire. We don't have every single guy lighting a fire in his backyard. All right, so there's the actual burning, but even before we get to the burning, which this year we will not have, right? We already, because we're afraid you may forget, who knows what will happen. So right, even after the Bdika, you do bittul chametz, you will know the chametz. So now, to address the issue, there are Rishonim, like the Rambam, who hold that that's the Iker Biur Chometz, the Iker destruction of Chometz is to annul it, not the burning. We don't pass like Rabbi Yehuda, or like the Rabbanim for that matter. The Rabban, Rabbi and Rabbanim are talking about if you want to do physical obliteration. What's the Iker obliteration? It seems from the Rambam, and there are other Rishonim that agree with him, that the real obliteration of Chometz is not to actually physically destroy it, to annul it. Right? You could destroy it also, but it's to annul it. And it's literally going in the Rambam. In the Rambam, it is literally what I am telling you. It is annulling. It's not even to be mafki, right? That the Ran says. Other Rishonim say it's to disown it. Ram doesn't say disown. It's to annul. Bittul. It's afra da'ara. According to Ram, you don't say in his kol chamira. You don't say lihabe hefker. We say it to be to the other Rishonim. The Rishonim holds it's an act of disowning. Because Bayra Bal Yamot says the prohibition of owning it, being in possession. So we're disowning. According to the Rambam, it's not even disowning, it's annulling. Right? That Chometz is nothing to it. And we have to be machmir like both shitas. So our kol chamira builds in the nusach of lebatel. Let it be annulled, villa have hefker, and let it be disowned hefker. Anyone else could take it. I disown it. Kafradara. But the words of the Ram is boto kafradara. It's like nothing to me. That's an amazing message. So I want to discuss that, particularly from the Rambam's point of view. That what that symbolizes. That the Iker Bir Chometz is to view it as nothing. Dirt. Nothing but dirt. As we said, and we speak about this extensively in the reader. The Comets represents the Yetzer Hara. And the Yetzer Hara is a whole state of mind. He plays with our mind, right? The Yetzer Hara that we have inside of us that plays with our mind, that came from the Eitz Hadas, right? Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. And it has to do with the whole world. That first of all, Chometz is time and space. You make order out of reality in terms of first, second, third, and this is my position, which and that's not the HaSeder of the Torah. And we explain this in our reader, right? The HaSeder of the Torah is what Hashem wants and where Hashem positions you, not who was here first. And we talk about reason, mitzvah bal yodcha tach mitzena, mitzvah that's done swiftly as opposed to chametz that takes its time, right? Chometz is a whole state of mind. It's the state of mind that the Yetzer Hara, has the ability, to fool you and play with you. And he plays tricks with our minds. The Yetzer Hara's main game is in the head. That's his game, right? Yeah, and this is an important point to make. To have passions, to have desires, that in itself is not bad. That in itself is not bad at all. Not only that, those passions and desires are destined to be elevated. Right? As I'll say, that it's going to be chedvasa de shmaitza. Right? All the passions that we have, we're going to in the future, they're going to be geared towards kedusha. Right? And even the satisfaction of eating and drinking. So also they talk about a sudas halivyosan, the or habar, right? The behema, the behema bahare elef, the ziz sadai, right? And all these interesting creatures that we're going to eat, right? Sudas halivyosan, right? All these. Now, what it means is that we can elevate these passions to be forms of dvekus and Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Like the Navi says, the cross us this ana gal Hashem. The Nevi'im say have some Oneg Shabbos to flare up the pleasure centers, and then the pasuk goes on, and then Grasel Shabbos Oneg, and then us tis ana gal Hashem. We try to do this every Shabbos, like with Oneg Shabbos, clear up the pleasure centers, and then associate it with Kedusha. And Loslo, that's exactly what's going to be. The passions are not a bad thing, right? The passions are not a bad thing. The problem is that the guy who took control of the passions is the Sahara. But the passions themselves are to be elevated, right? Passions aren't bad, right? Passions have to be. It's like a horse, right? It has to be. It has to be guided, by the seichel, and the seichel is the ambassador in the body of the neshama. It's by the rider that tames the horse and leads it, right? Well, the Yetzer Hara, he grabs the reins of the passions. The problem, the Yetzer Hara, and he has this game that he plays as if he is the passions are him, and really the passions aren't him. The passions are the body, but the body's meant to serve Hashem, right? His whole game is mental, a mind game, right? Except he'll pass himself off as representing everything that you desire, or that if you don't listen to him, you will never have those desires fulfilled. And all those desires could be perfectly fulfilled within the framework of Torah and mitzvahs, right? Without dragging you down spiritually. Now, people are probably thinking, isn't there this famous Ramban of Menuvo Bershus HaTorah? You're disgusting. You're halachic, but you're disgusting. You're having way too much relations with your wife, which is totally beyond what's necessary al pi halacha, and you're eating too much, even though it's all glak kosher, and et cetera, et cetera. All these things. All right. But that's because you're really doing stuff beyond what's healthy for the body. Even your body would be begging you to stop it. Give your body a voice, right? Tell you about that. All the passions can be perfectly, perfectly fulfilled in the healthy, balanced manner, which your body, if your health would have a mouth, your health would be the first to say, yes, keep this all in moderation, right? So the Yetzer Hara is not body friendly. He is not body friendly, right? But he claims to represent your body. He claims to represent your Olam Hazeh, whereas he drives us to do things that destroy us even in Olam Hazeh. To do terrible things that ruin your marriage, that ruin your family life, that, gambling that ruins your finances. The Yetzer Hara is not looking out for your body, for your health. He's not looking out for your financial health either. He claims he is. Right? We've mentioned many times the Medrash Rabbah and the Parshas Bereshis that the Short Savrechem quotes in Parak Tes of his Sefer, that the mashal for the Yetzer Hara. Some guy needed a living, right? The guy was like totally crippled, right? So he said, what's an easy living for a guy? To become a robber. So he sets himself up, he puts himself at the crossroads where there's a lot of traffic, has a big stick that he leans against his shoulder, and he tells everyone, "Give me your money, or I'm going to hit you with my stick." He speaks big, loud, threatening, right? And and people don't think that much, get easily, shocked, because he screams, he shouts with a great deal of bravado. You see the big stick, and people give the money. Until one wise person analyzed the situation. So he's got no arms, no legs, right? He's just screaming. It's just bluster. So he takes the stick and he beats the garbage out of that guy. So he says the Yetzer is Chazal. They say Yetzer is just he's just all talk. We just get intimidated. We either get sweet talked or we get intimidated. And it's not that he's strong. It's that we're scared of him. Get it? Not that he's strong. It's that we're scared of him. And we give the self-fulfilling prophecy. We start feeling he starts tempting us. We get, oh my God, we get overwhelmed by the temptation. Overwhelmed by, we just let ourselves get overwhelmed. Right? And he says over there, he gives the example. You want to see that I'm right? He says the next time you have a taiva, next time the Yetzer, starting up with you, stamp your foot and say, no, I'm not giving in. You'll see that taiva subsides. He's all bark, no bite. And that's the secret, that the evil who give in to him all the time, also see him just like a little hair, just like a little hair. So we couldn't overcome this little hair. So you might ask, don't the tzaddikim see him like a big mountain? All right, the Sfarim explained that. And the Sfarim explained that, at the time, Yetzer is only just a hair's breadth. You conquer him. And so tzaddik, he's just a hair, overcomes it. Next Nisan, he's just a hair. All those hairs add up to a big mountain. The tzaddik sees all those hairs that he overcome pile up and compound themselves into that mountain that he conquered. Right? But be'etzem, on every given nisayon, he's just a hair. You say, wait a minute, call Gadol Mechaber Yitzhak Gadol. Yes, that's right. But he's always just playing mind games. So if you bested him at the old mind games, he has new mind games. But it's always mind games. Always, right? And Yetzer is a big illusion, and that's bittul Comets. He's nothing. Annul him. You see how he comes up big, ferocious, scary, overwhelming, overly convincing. You're nothing. And that's the Ikar Nitzachon over the Yetzer, to see him for the nothing that he is. That's the bittul Comets. Right? Right, to see him for the nothing that he is. And that's a lesson for us. That's Ikrash Bossa, and now undoubtedly being cooped up in our homes, mind games start. Tensions between you and your spouse and your family flare up because there's no getting distracted from it. Day-to-day life. Can't leave the house to go to work and get away from the strife that might be brewing, right? Also, our careers, and our interaction outside the house take our minds off our problems, right? And it could also take our minds off our weaknesses and temptations. You're busy. You go out and you work, and you come back exhausted, and in that way, so the work is a distraction, but it could also be a positive distraction from. We have no time for our mental illness. We have no time for our hangups. We have no time for our insecurities, and we have no time to fight with our spouses and our children, right? Yeah. Never mind. And now all these things are going to bubble to the top. And for some people, the house is like a pressure cooker. And you feel your gripes are legitimate, and your passions are real, and your gripes are real, and bittul. You have to null it all. Say all these bad feelings, bad memories that now there's time for them to surface. all that bad stuff, none of it is brittle, right? We have to, the main way to defeat the Eight Sahara, the main way to defeat your psychological problems, your emotional problems, past trauma, say it's not real. Some of it are memories, which are based on reality, but the current memory is not reality in the making. You have to annul your memories. Yeah, they might be based on fact, right? But it's not happening now. It's in the past. The past. It doesn't vindicate the person who gave you that terrible memory, but it's not happening now. It's not happening now. It's not real, right? And I shouldn't, because of something that happened in the past, ruin my present. Right? So bad memories are not real. Right? They're not. And I'm giving up what I have, the present, because of bad memories in the past. Right? And same thing, temptations, anger. It's going to be mevatel. Right? You have to learn, bittul, clear your mind, annul those thoughts, annul those feelings. That's the annulment of Comets. That's the Iker Biur Comets. Now, the fact that, so there are some Rishonim that hold the real Biur Comets is to actually destroy it. Just you could do bittul also. It's the machlokas, which is the main thing. The Rambam holds. The Rambam is from those that hold bittul is the main thing. All right. You could do biur also. Sometimes you have to do biur. There are times that bittul doesn't work. Bittul doesn't work on from Erev Pesach at Chatzotz and onwards. So you're forced. If you have Chometz then that you didn't get rid of and you weren't Mabato, you're forced to destroy it. Right? Right? So just to wax philosophical for us, right? You can understand that the Yetzer Hara, evil. Let's make it a little bit more general. Evil exists in two places, right? Inside of us and the world around us, right? There's the Yetzer Hara inside of me, and then there's the evil in the world, the Avodah Zarah, right? And evil, the Ritzicha, you know. There's the evil of society, and there's the evil, inside of me. And we believe, not believe, we know, right? The Torah has revealed to us that, the two go in tandem, right? If I work on correcting my midas inside of me, parallel to that, whatever happens in the world also, is corrected. The vibe of how I'm correcting myself, that vibe will resonate outwards and correct the parallel problem that there is in reality around us. And it works the other way also. Obviously, if a person is very zealous about uprooting Avodah Zarah, right, when we had the authority to do so, the ability to do so, have again b'meir b'yameinu, right, right. So of course, if you're out combating evil all day, it's going to have an effect on you on the inside also. Or if you're out to uproot Avodah Zarah, a person who's out to uproot Avodah Zarah certainly doesn't believe in Avodah Zarah. So, and this is true, this is more expressed that when you help other people, you're helping yourself. You're helping yourself also. The positive energy that you exert on the outside world boomerangs and benefits you also. When you do chesed, you're doing chesed with yourself more than anyone else, right? So you understand that bittul is all inside your head. The way, bittul, everyone admits that, and Ram holds that's the ikr, which means fix yourself, and mimela, there's a reverberating effect that fixes the world, right? Biur is external. Right, the Comets is outside of you, and you're burning it, and you're destroying it, and with that, it has. So you do the avoda to make the world a better place, and you will be the first, a prime beneficiary of how the world's a better place. By doing good for the outside world, it affects you. Right? And this is the duality that we could explain this philosophically in addition to halachically, that should I try to do good, and by doing good I am affected and become a better person, or should I work on my inner world and that reverberates out and has an effect on the outside world, right? And both are true. There's a time and place for everything, right? Like I said, even the Rambam admits, it's halacha, it's a Gemara, right? It's Chazal. But after 6 hours on Erev Pesach, bittul doesn't work anymore. Right? It becomes sometimes necessary. And there's the internal work and there's the external work. Um, and the truth is, both are important. They both have their time and place. And this is the secret. Speaking of, Kwan Rabbi Yehuda, the Iker mitzvah of Tashbisu is with fire. Right? Happens we don't pass like Rabbi Yehuda, but that's what he holds. I'm not saying all Rishonim don't pass like Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's sreifa, has to be burning, and we try to fulfill that day when we burn Comets. This year we won't. We're going to get back to that. It was a very valuable point of that has to do specifically with our situation. But the Rabbi Yehuda, it's about burning, right? So of course, burning is you have to burn. You don't burn yourself; you burn something else, but it has a residual effect of burning up the Yetzer Hara inside of you, right? And that's that's how we're meant to destroy Avodah Zarah, with burning. It's the prime way of destroying it, right? And that's to correct the outside world, and we by believe that if you did that for the world outside of you, you certainly helped yourself also. Right? So now, speaking of fire, right? Sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, which that's the minhag. The minhag is like Rabbi Yehuda, even though that's not the halacha as per this year. I'm going to discuss it. Right. So now, we know that Esav represents the evil in the world. Right. It was Mitzrayim back in the day, but ever since then, Esav took over as the composite of all the evil empires in one, right? As the Maral talks about in their mitzvah, right? And we know Amalek comes from Esav, right? So now the Rashi says that right there after Yosef was born, some say so. Yaakov decides it's time to go home. Why? So Rashi brings the Chazal because no no shalzeh, because the one who's going to finally vanquish Esav has been born. As the Paul says, Beis Yaakov Beis Yosef Lahava, the house of Yaakov is fire, and the house of Yosef is flame, and Beis Esav Lakasha, the house of Esav is the flax, the straw. Right? So now the obvious question is that Rashi and Chazal, Chazal Rashi brings clearly addresses, if Yaakov himself is fire, what do you need Yosef for? No, Yaakov is fire, Yosef is flame, and fire without a flame does not travel far. Does not travel far. Yaakov is fire, but a coal is fire also, glowing coal. But a glowing coal is not, is a pretty controlled hazard. You don't have to worry about spreading. If it spreads in the wind, it's because the wind first flares up the coal to make a flame, and then the flame travels. Yosef is lahava, the flame. You have to go out far. And Rashi says the same idea also. In Parshas Vayeshev, Yaakov is like the blacksmith. Yosef is the spark that travels far. Now, with this, you understand the other Rashi in Parshas Bikesh Yaakov Leishav B'Shalva. Yaakov wanted to sit in peace, right? Because he had fixed himself internally. He was done with Mechamzeh. Kosov Rugzot Shel Yosef. Yosef is the flame that has to go out far. He has to go out to Mitzrayim. That's why we wound up in Mitzrayim. Correct the world. Now, through correcting the world, we also got corrected. Through the trials and tribulations of going to Egypt. Right? There's that represents fire. Fire is to correct the outstairs. Being fire in your heart. That you burnt up your Yetzer on the inside. There's the flame to burn things outside, to correct the world, and both are important for the final tikkun, bestowed Yaakov and Yosef, the fire and the flame. That's why Yaakov thought the internal tikkun of that he and his immediate environs were clean, you know, kosher Pesach, burnt clean. You didn't have to engage in any. You say no, kosher Rukza Yosef. You don't rest in this world. In this world, if you fix yourself, then go out and fix the outside world, fix society, right? Burn up the evil in society. Yeah, right. Um, and that's why we do both in Hugging when we can. We do bittul, and we also, if we can, we burn chametz, and it's very meduyak because in the tefillah that we say when we burn the chametz, we say just like I burnt the chametz out from my house, so also burn up the ruach hatuma tavir min haaretz, get rid of all the evil on earth. It's perfectly parallel. The actual burning of chametz represents getting rid of the cosmic evil. It's a step, towards affecting the outside world also, not just in our private reality. Right? So it's represented, and that's the Indian of doing both. Right? Both are true, and we do both. And in the big picture, you need both, because the tzaddik who fixed himself still has to go out. Yaakov could not stay in his safe space. I mean that I ain't no liberal. I don't believe in you know what I mean, right? He couldn't say where he had felt it was a pure, secure, sterile environment. He had to go out, and since he didn't, so Yosef had to go out. He is the flame that goes far, right? And Yaakov had to deal with that strain because he wanted to avoid doing it himself, right? And that's how Yaakov wound up in Egypt also, because he followed Yosef there ultimately. The tzaddik who's fixed himself has to fix society. But that's, we don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, and as you saw the letters from the rabbis, right? This year we're not going to burn the chametz. We're going to do what the rabbis say, which is also good for those who have bread to get rid of, physical bread to get rid of. Mifare vizore laruach. You got to pulverize it and let the wind blow it away, right? Or alternatively, pulverize it and flush it down the toilet. Pulverize. And that's something very interesting. That this is what the rabbis are telling us to do this year, because generally, interestingly enough, when we get together to burn chametz. So even though that's not the mitzvah, it just works out that way. Interestingly enough, the mitzvah is to burn chametz. You don't have to do it communally, but it always works out that way. We gather to burn chametz, and over here we're not gathering; we're pulverizing. Right? Just like we're not getting together, we take the chametz and we're dissolving it. Just like we are socially dissolved, social distancing is dissolving of society. So also we're dissolving the chametz, right? And I think there's something to be said about this. Just a reflection, just an idea. I'm not a navi, but listen, we're supposed to try to learn from everything that comes our way. So I'm suggesting that we further take to heart, what we spoke about in our Shabbos Hagadol talk less than a week ago. Perhaps the communal burning of Chometz is that society itself is good and it just needs to be kosher, like a good pot. Put it in the fire, to blowtorch out the Chometz. But the pot is a good pot. Right? And perhaps that's what the communal burning of chametz represents. Like we said, the actual physical burning of the chametz more leans towards the idea of correcting the world, affecting the world outside of us, right? And of course, the residual effect is it improves us, as opposed to bittul, it's inside out. First, we get our head straight that chametz is nothing, and that resonates outward to the outside world also. So we said that Sreifas Chametz more puts the emphasis on correcting the outside world, right? Which has an impact on us, the correctors also. And perhaps we could say, and it's not far-fetched, the communal burning of chametz that we're accustomed to doing, even though it doesn't have to be that way, and it's not going to be that way this year, right? Is that general? Is that as if society is good and we're kashering society, right? It's like the good pot, the good frying pan that you got a blowtorch, because it alcohol is only good if you cook with water, a little bit of oil, needs libud. It's as if we get together and we burn Comets together. It's as if society is perfectly good. We just say, let's be kosher and get the Comets out. It's not perfect. It's good, but it's not perfect. I think over here is an amazing message. Society is not good. It's what we spoke about, social distancing. And it's amazing to point out that perfectly parallel to that, we are distanced from each other. Society has been scattered, dispersed. What the rabbis are telling us this year, take your bread or whatever comes have and pulverize it, right? And something to take Torah, something to think about that this Magefa is against the tzibur, and it seems that part of the cure is to dissolve the tzibur, right? Dissolve the tzibur, and to start from scratch, rebuild society from scratch, right? And that takes us to the final point I want to make, which is not a short one, but I want to discuss our development as a people. Our development as a people is perfectly parallel to the Avos, Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Omer, and Shavuos. All right. All right. So ask a question. Simple question. The Avos, right? They kept all the Torah before it was given, and they would have loved to have the Torah. They loved God and they loved His mitzvahs. So why did the Rebbe not give the Torah to the Avos? Hashem wants to give, right? He gave us the term mitzvahs for our benefit, and we know Gadol HaMitzvah v'oseh mimishenu mitzvah v'oseh. He who's commanded and does is even greater than someone who does it voluntarily. So why does Hashem withhold the goodness from us? Give them the Torah, right? And they'll give it, they'll pass it on to us, right? So my Rebbe, the Rosh Yeshiva of Ner Yitzhak, Yaakov Weinberg, Zecher Tzai Krosh says, because Torah is too big to give to individuals. Torah is a bris olam. It's an eternal covenant, and it's so time wise it's forever, and depth wise it's infinitely deep. You can't give it to individuals. Only a nation is a big enough receptacle to hold. The nation includes all the generations, a corporate entity that includes generations past and generations future. Only a nation is an entity big enough to hold the Torah that's infinitely deep and is forever. So the other says, "Grace, they're only individuals. You can't give a bris olam, right, to an individual who's here today and gone tomorrow. Bris olam has to be for a nation, right? And now this has to do with something else that we said earlier in this very session, right? So with the Torah, we don't just fix ourselves; we fix the whole world. A nation is a unit that makes a global influence. Individuals are here and then they're forgotten tomorrow. A nation that's here forever can really change history and destiny. Not an individual. An individual may be remembered forever. Yeah. But his living influence will be dead together with him, even be ignored in his own lifetime. A nation is something that's here forever, here to stay, and has a permanent place on the globe. Nation shapes destiny. Individuals don't shape destiny. You you may have nations that claim to follow the lead of those individuals. The nations that shape destiny, nations that do geopolitical affairs. So you may have nations that claim to follow the ideology of individuals, but it's the nation that doesn't. Right? We need a nation for the Torah, right? All right, but there's a development in between. In the days of the Avos, we are just one big clan, right? When the Jewish people come down to Mitzrayim, it says Ishu Beso Bo, but it was just they're all called Yotzei Yerach Yaakov. We're all the children of Yaakov, one big clan. It wasn't even a. It's like a kind of like an ethnic group, right? Very general, you know. But now the process, we had to wait till we became 600,000 people. 7,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60, which we're taught are the main neshamas. The other neshamas are branches, and that was a critical mass to be a nation. We didn't become a nation all in one shot. It was a process, right? By Pesach, so first we weren't a nation at all, and we weren't even a people at all. We were slaves, right? Eved Ein Lo Chai. So it's not even called, that we had yichus. A slave can't even be called an ethnicity really, because he doesn't have yichus, in halacha, right? Now, of course, that wasn't our state; we were Jews, but in the eyes of the world, we're just slaves. Slaves is not a group. Slaves is like a subhuman, servants to, overlords, right? So we by Leil Pesach Seder night, right, which is where we're holding perfectly parallel to our situation, right? Seder night, we were families. Everyone was confined to their home with their korban Pesach. But by Sechad Yachel, also Syrian man, right? In one house, everybody and their family. We were families. And that's something interesting. We weren't families, at the beginning of Sefer Shemot. There were 70 males, aside from all the females and all the kids who weren't counted. You know, the whatever whatever. We were 70 people, right? Let's say like, and we weren't identified separate families. Already, it's getting diversified into families. And there's a message just in that for our contemporary times, even beside the COVID-19. Right? The idea of family values, what the Rambam writes in the Moreh Nevuchim. Why is hitting your parents punished by death? Hurting your parents punished by death? Says the Rambam, what is society built out of? Society is built out of families, not individuals, families. The most elemental building block is the family. And then the families, those are the bricks of society. And then the families bind together to make a nation. Right? Society is built out of families. That's, family values, my friends. Yes, we have to fight for family values. Families are the foundations of nations. And that's the secret of why the Rambam also put the laws of honoring your parents. We have to respect the authority of the Bezdin Agadol. Because, really society, law and order. Society starts with families, right? And with Yitzias Society, the first night is very deep. I'm explaining to you why the first night's not part of the Omer, right? Right. The first night of Pesach, we were families. Every family in its own house, but we were families, right? And we weren't slaves anymore. Now we were free people, but we were as families, right? And that's something to think about. That we are stuck with our families. A lot of people go to hotels. Like I said, at the beginning of tonight's session, Pesach was very traumatic for a lot of people. It's the first time making their lives, right? Right. You go to a hotel, big dining room with everything. You know, there's something very special of having a family-only Seder, like we're forced to have this year. Sometimes we're not, can't have the extended family. It's only the immediate family under one roof, like it was in those days. Right? We're being whittling down because I believe, as we've been saying, that society is resetting. And the way society was, the way our society arose, it first started as families. The first night we were liberated, we became free families, right? Which are the building blocks of society. The next morning, miraculously, within a short notice, all these different families got together in one group and left Egypt together. Right? Amazing, right? But it was families, right? As we're putting the reset button for society, the first step of rebuilding society is rebuilding the family. Rabbi Isai, the fact that we've been confined to our homes, just with immediate family for the last few weeks, there's a message. People, sacrifice their family to their careers. Their family life is second to their careers. And not only that, we've revived homeschooling. That's right. The family is the foundation of society, and the Ikra Chinuch should be from father to son, like it is Seder night. We got it year round. It should be Vishinantam Livanecha. Homeschooling has come back. The fact that the family's been secondary, right? Your education comes from the moistus outside of the home, and your chashivas, your sense of self worth, comes from your friends outside the house, from your society, from your job. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And that's part of why society is sick, because society does not have a healthy basis. Because the basis of society is families. We've been forced. Society has been forcibly disintegrated, and we've been forced to rediscover and the educational value of the family, homeschooling, really realizing that the family is all you really have, right? As far as your family is all you really have, and the family is the foundation. We've been forced to rediscover the real foundation. That's the first night of Pesach was families. Every family with its own korban Pesach, right? And that's still the theme during the first day, even though they all started banding together, But the it's the day after Pesach, we start counting the Omer. Now we know we start counting the Omer, as Hachana from Matan Torah. We're counting down to Matan Torah. Because the whole Yitzias Mitzrayim, take you for a nation is to, that was finalized with the giving of the Torah. It says right before Gidduv, Mamleches Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh. Right, you're going to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The Torah finalized our nationhood, right? Because like we said, HaKadosh wanted to give the Torah to a nation. Yitzias Mitzrayim was part of a process to evolve into a nation. Starts with families, and then starts the critical buildup, the days of the Omer. And that's to start adding things together. How do we count the Omer? Do we say Hayom Yom Rishon, Hayom Yom Shei? First day, we don't say first, second. We say one day. Hayom Shnei Yomim Lomer, Hayom Shlosha Yomim Lomer. We add. The days are adding up. The days are adding up. It's a process of addition, of combining the families to amount to a nation. And the capstone that's going to hold it all together is the giving of the Torah. And that's all alluded to in the famous saying of Rabbi Akiva. Omer Rabbi Akiva, V'hafta l'reacha kamocha, ze klal gadol b'Torah. Love your neighbor. Love the mitzvah v'hafta kamocha. Mamash, like yourself, is klal gadol. It's a great principle in Torah. What does that mean? Right? Because the Torah is only for a nation. And the nation, everyone's equally as important. But it works the other way. Only with the koach of Torah could we bind. At the cloud gadol, you become a big cloud, one generality, but Torah through the power of the Torah. The Torah is what makes us a nation. You have to bind together to get the Torah, right? And the Torah also, from it is like the capstone, that when everything's gathered together, that will hold it. When the capstone comes, it closes the circuit, and it's the glue. We met this. Ein amenu umal b'Torah, so says Rav Sadigan. We're only a nation through the Torah. And that's why, even though we've been scattered throughout the globe for 2,000 years, we're still one nation. And the Jewish people, have each other's backs, even though they live scattered across the globe, right? Because our nation is based on the Torah, not based on the fact that we happen to be living on the same stretch of land at the same time, and we're forced to get along for pragmatic reasons. It's the Torah that makes us a nation. But we have to try to bind ourselves together from below, and then the Torah comes from above to be the spirit of the nation. So we gather ourselves below to be the body of the nation, and the Torah is the spirit of the nation. And because our nation has a spirit, that's why when we disperse, so one would call that national death, and still the nation's alive. It's like a person, a tzaddik. Tzaddikim b'misasan kruyim chayim. The tzaddik, even when he's dead, he's still called alive because his neshama's alive. And his neshama being alive also sends energy to that body, that dead body. So that's why we daven, at grave sites of tzaddikim. One of the reasons is because it's a holy place. It's like a makom kodesh. You're not davening chasrom to the tzaddik. God forbid. God forbid. As the Mishpura says, but it's a holy place. The Shekhinah is there. Right, because the neshama of the tzaddik is mashpia to that body, and also protects that body that it could have resurrection. So also the Torah is our spirit, is our national neshama, And so even if as a nation we were scattered for many years, you would say that's not a nation. Scattered across the globe, what type of nation is that? There's American Jews, French Jews, Lithuanian Jews. Well, they one nation because of the one Torah. It's like the spirit that's still, like the spirit that's still mashpia to the guf, even after death, preparing the guf for reanimation. It's also the Torah is always there keeping us alive. And that's what empowers and makes it inevitable that we're going to reband together and be a nation for all to see in Eretz Yisrael, right? But we have to first do our part to combine, right? And that's the days of the Omer, combining. It's not first day, second day, third day, as if each day is old. It's days, 2 days, it's 3 days. We're combining these days. We're combining good midas, right? And it's interesting. We mentioned Rabbi Akiva before. During the old days of Rabbi Akiva died. Rabbi Akiva is one who said, "Zeh klal gadol b'Torah." Right? But that was the big nisayon, to bind together, that you love your fellow Jew like yourself. So now, what does that mean, even? So I'll explain to you what it means, in light of what we said in our last session. And we're coming to a close soon, right? So please, whoever's listening, please hang in there. It's just a few more minutes, okay? We mentioned last time that there are three types of friendship. Yes, how can you love someone like yourself? Well, there are three types of friendship, the Rambam says. There's the lowest level friendship of pleasure. I hang out with you because you're good company, All right. Of course, I'm doing it because I feel good hanging out with you. It's not for you, it's for me. All right. So of course in Chaver L'Tanu, right? Chaver L'Tanu, of course it's really about me, not really about you. But fortunately you're also enjoying hanging out with me. So it works. But of course, the minute that it's not pleasurable for me, I'm not hanging out with you anymore. So of course, it's not l'recha kamocha. For me, I enjoy hanging out with you. It's about me. It's not about you, right? Right. Then there's one step up, chaver le'ezer. Right. We're friends because we help each other. Of course, halacha is chayech, which also a saying of Rabbi Akiva, chayecha kodmin. Right. Your life comes first. Like, listen, I'll help you. You help me. But if there's only enough water for me, I help myself first. Right? So it's not kamocha, right? And that's the halacha, and that's the halacha for Rabbi Akiva himself. Right? But then you have chaver ledavar nala, a friendship that's based about lofty ideas and ideology. What we spoke about last time. In that framework, yes, l'recha kamocha, because what I need you to do great things. You're equally as important as me in this grand project of Torah and mitzvahs and the sakein oila b'malchut shakai on that level, which is the level of Torah. Zeklal gadol b'Torah. Right? When you're on the level of Torah, you understand how you need your fellow man. So it's like how there's like a chicken and egg thing that to be worthy of receiving Torah, we have to try to love each other as like ourselves. And why? Because we need each other to get the Torah. And then when we get the Torah, we really realize how we need each other so badly. Right? Now, before Lag BaOmer, right, we're building up, but there's also friction. It's not easy. You begrudgingly open your mind. You have certain midas that you like, and you open your mind to accept another midah, which represents another Jew, and another midah, which represents another Jew. And then, to simplify a very deep idea, when you cross the Lag BaOmer juncture, you've already added so many different midas that you realize that so many different things are important, then everything's important. That's when your heart opens up to really be accepting of your fellow Jew, and that's what the Maharal says. They were zochet the chaye Torah. They had a breakthrough to the or of Torah already, and that's why they could actually love each other like themselves, and they were nagu kavatzelas. But that's finalized with the coming of Shavuos. But the Omer begins the process. It's the day after Pesach. Pesach is about family. Right? But the day after Pesach is about now combining the families into a nation, which is a process that finalizes with the giving of the Torah. So for us, to sum up, what we said this evening, Bedikas Chometz cheshbon nefesh, Biur Chometz bittul, right? See the Yetzer Hara for the nothing that he is. See your passions and insecurities for the nothing that they are, right? Right, and realize that unfortunately, we're not going to do communal Biur Chometz because society is being rebuilt from scratch. Right, so we're not going to do, like we said, the communal burning of chametz that we're not going to have this year. Kind of represents, even though it doesn't have to be this way, as if society is koshering itself, getting the chametz out of itself. If society is good, this year the rabbi is telling us to pulverize the bread, social distancing, pulverization of society. But we're going to start rebuilding it. Seder night will be the finality, the capstone of these 2 weeks of social distancing, that we were stuck with our family, that hopefully we rediscovered our family and rediscovered how family is the bedrock of society. We've rediscovered the family and how it is the foundation. Right? And that's the first step of rebuilding society, with family. So hopefully this Seder night will be the grand finale of 2 weeks of being stuck at home with your family, to realize the greatness of your family, that the family is the bedrock of society. And education should be from the home, not outsourcing our education to the moistus, and not outsourcing our approval and our measure of our worth to society outside. It's the family. And that's the first day of Pesach, and that's Seder night and the first day of Pesach. After that, we start working on, after we've gotten the Yetzer Hara out, we've reestablished the Jewish family, B'Kedusha B'Tara, right? So then the Omer is now to start rebuilding society step by step, of combining the different midas of the different families, which should culminate with the Mekabel Torah. That's when our society will be reborn of Ein Ameinu Uma B'Torah. So let's make these upcoming days really count, and really, and in source of that, just like in the Omer, the units start combining. Hopefully in the Omer we'll see the days of the Omer, we should be zocher to see an easing on the social distancing, because it'll be safe, not just physically and medically, but safe spiritually, to start rebuilding society. That society will be al taras hakodesh, that it will be zocher to vayichan shom Yisrael keneged ahar, in preparation for Har Sinai, ki ish echad b'lev echad, chag kosher.